A house in rural Pennsylvania became the center of the most disturbing experiment ever recorded. Locals called it the Sleep Experiment House. What happened inside was so horrifying, the government tried to bury the truth forever.
No one knew who built the house, but everyone knew the rule. Whoever enters never sleeps again. Their bodies keep moving, but their minds collapse slowly.
3 creators from New York decided to stay inside the house for 72 hours as a challenge. They thought it would be fun. They were wrong. The moment they stepped in, their cameras stopped autofocusing, as if something invisible was standing too close to them. The house had only one bedroom, and inside that room, someone had carved hundreds of symbols used in psychological sleep deprivation studies. They found an old tape recorder. When they pressed play, a calm but terrifying voice whispered, "The experiment begins now." They laughed at first, but within minutes, the house started shifting. Hallways stretched longer, doors changed positions, and footsteps echoed from rooms that did not exist before. On the first night, none of them could sleep. Every time they closed their eyes, something whispered their name from inside their skull. At 3:17 a.m., the same time the clock was stuck, one of them saw a silhouette standing at the end of the hallway. Not human, not animal, something in between. The house was draining their energy, keeping them awake, breaking their minds slowly. And the longer they stayed awake, the stronger the house became. The house didn't let them sleep for even a second. Every blink felt heavier. Every breath felt stolen. Their voices began to tremble, but they refused to leave. Not yet. In a drawer, they discovered a notebook. Inside were notes from a government sleep deprivation project abandoned in the 1980s. The final entry said, "No subject survived past 72 hours." When they reached the kitchen, something terrifying happened. The metal utensils began shaking, like invisible hands were touching everything at once. In front of the old mirror one of them froze. His reflection was smiling, even though he wasn't. The longer he stared, the wider the reflection smiled back. They heard a soft tapping. It came from the basement. None of them wanted to go down, but the house wanted them to. The basement wasn't a basement. It was a secret lab. 3 rusted beds, each with straps. Machines designed to monitor the brain when a person is forced to stay awake. Then they found jars, dozens of them. Eyes, fingers, bone fragments, all labeled with times. Hour 48, hour 67, hour 71. These were the results of the last experiment. In a corner, an old CCTV system flickered to life. The footage showed past subjects, strapped, screaming, begging for sleep. But the house didn't let them, not even for a second. One of them began hearing whispers, hundreds of voices speaking at once. They circled him, pressed into his ears, filled his mind until he collapsed to his knees. And then the house awakened. The shadows rose, the floorboards groaned, the furniture shook violently. The experiment had officially restarted. The house pulsed like a living organism. Every flicker of the light felt like a heartbeat, and the shadows moved like veins spreading across the walls. After 24 hours without sleep, their bodies began breaking down. Their hands shook, their vision blurred. But the worst part?
was the feeling that someone was breathing behind them. Handprints began forming on the wall, fresh, wet, and human, but no one touched it. Something inside the walls was trying to get out. In the hallway, they saw a small figure, a child, standing completely still, but when they blinked, the child stood a few steps closer. Their cameras couldn't capture the child correctly. The footage showed limbs stretched, eyes too large, and a smile that reached across its face. A metal door in the basement opened by itself. A freezing mist spread across the floor. The sound of machines powering on echoed in the darkness. Inside were 3 beds, empty, waiting. Fresh blood dotted the corners. It was as if the experiment had prepared the beds specifically for them. One of them felt something grab his leg. An invisible force dragged him across the floor, toward the bed, toward the straps that once held the previous victims. They pulled him back with all their strength, but the house fought harder. The walls shook, the beds rattled, and the lights burst one by one. And then the true experimenter appeared, a figure made of smoke, eyes glowing white. It didn't walk, it floated, watching them, waiting for them to break. The creature was not human, not even close. It was the leftover consciousness of every victim who had died in that house, fused into one endless nightmare. They aimed their flashlight at it, but the light bent, as if the creature absorbed reality itself. Every shadow twisted like it was alive. After 36 hours awake, their minds started splitting. Their vision shook, their hearts raced, and the house whispered one sentence over and over: "Stay awake or stay forever." Gravity itself broke apart. Furniture floated, dust froze midair. Time slowed as the house reshaped itself into a prison of pure hallucination. One of them screamed when he saw his shadow detach from his feet and walk away. The house was stealing their identities piece by piece. The TV switched on, static, then footage of them, filmed from angles no camera could reach. Someone or something was watching every move. The doors slammed shut, windows sealed. Every light in the house died at the same moment, trapping them inside complete darkness. When they lit a single match, it revealed something horrifying. Hundreds of smiling faces floating in the darkness, watching silently. The voices grew louder, whispers overlapping, echoing, screaming inside their ears. One of them collapsed, sobbing, unable to tell what was real anymore. The creature stretched its smoky arms toward them. The walls cracked, the ceiling bent. The experiment had reached its final stage, and the price was their sanity. The entire house began to deform. The walls cracked like skin tearing apart. Black smoke leaked from every corner as the experiment swallowed reality itself. One of them began losing consciousness. His eyes rolled back. His body gave up. The house knew, once someone fell asleep, they belonged to it. The creature hovered inches away from him, breathing into his face. A cold, rotten smell filled the room. It wanted his sleep. It needed it. With every last bit of strength, they dragged him away. The hallway twisted like a maze. The floors split open. The house tried to stop them. For the first time, they saw it. An exit, a door glowing white, freedom. But the house bent itself, stretching like a living monster to cover the doorway.
They refused to die inside that nightmare. With pure rage, they smashed the shifting walls, broke the floorboards, and forced their way toward the door. The creature lunged. A roar of smoke shook the house. Shadows exploded outward as it reached for them one last time. With every last bit of strength, they dragged him away. The hallway twisted like a maze. The floors split open. The house tried to stop them. They collapsed outside. The sun finally rose. Police found them trembling, dehydrated, barely conscious. And behind them, the house stood silent again. All three survived, but none of them ever slept normally again. Every night, they hear whispers, calling their names. And the house? It waits for the next visitors, because the experiment is never over.